Hi, nice to meet you both. I'm Ariana.
Hi,
Hello,
Ariana.
Ariana. I'm Martin.
And
Hi,
Tom.
Martin. Hi, Tom. It's always nice to meet the men who make me cry. It should be a great conversation. So, the Velveteen Rabbit has existed for over 100 years. Why do you think the story is still relevant?
Martin?
Because it's about the power of imagination and the power of love. And actually, it's about if you really love people, then you can liberate them. It is just that this boy, a child, if they when they really love their toys, there is a sense that that toy is real to them, probably more real to them than anything their parents are saying about don't do that or whatever. And it becomes very, very big part of their lives. And most of us can remember something from our childhood that meant that much. And at some point, you love it so much that either you love it to bits, literally, or you've got to move on. And that's what this story is about, I think.
It's also got moments of sadness in it and challenges, and I think children's literature, that kind of those moments stand out quite a lot, and they endure in the memory of the reader. So I think it's kind of beloved and endured for that reason as well. Is that it's very hopeful, but it's got those moments in it where they have to deal with the kid has to deal with big life issues.
Yeah. Why did you decide to not set it during modern times?
We wanted to balance it between, we wanted to kind of, because it's a classic, we wanted to retain that sense of that kind of classic setting, but we also didn't want it to feel we wanted to feel modern as well. So it's a balancing act really between those two worlds in terms of production design, in terms of the tone of the script. And I think that the team at Magic Light did a great job of achieving that.
I think it's also about the modern world that just produces lots of things which would get in the way. There's a purity about setting it in that world, not fetishizing that world, but just having a world that everyone can look into and go, there is a child, there's a toy, what's going to happen, and not be put off by anything else.
Yeah.
Yes. And when you guys were children, did you have a toy that really just meant as much to you as William? Well, the rabbit means to William.
I had a dog called Sandy whose head fell off many times because I still have it, and you can see the sew marks where my mum's had to stitch its head back on. So yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, definitely. And my auntie who originally gave me said, "Here's some chocolates. You can, if Sandy doesn't want them, you can have them yourself." And I used to offer them to the dog, and then he didn't. So it's those imagination aspects, and they're real. Kids really do imagine that their toys are living creatures.
Yeah.
So the line "more lettuce" when William offers a little bit more lettuce. This is from real life. It's so sweet.
Martin, did you have a toy that you remember well?
I'm the youngest of 5 brothers, and I had an old bear who had been passed down, and he was really pretty cronky by the time I got him, and he was really falling apart. And he was wonderful, but he couldn't really go on as many adventures as I wanted because bits would fall off. So yeah, after a bit he got sort of slightly parked, and another toy took over.
A fairy came and turned him into a real bear.
No, well, if so, there's an area of southern Britain which needs to watch out for a bear.
Why do you think Rabbit wants to be real so bad? And does he actually knows what it means? Like, does he think that when he meets like animal rabbits that's what he's going to turn into? Like, what does he think the definition of real is, and why does he want it so bad?
That's interesting, because his idea of what real is and what it actually is kind of it changes as the piece progresses. At first, I think the other toys are talking about being real, and just like when William, there's an analog in the Toy Story that the Velveteen Rabbit doesn't fit in either, and he feels like he wants friends, he wants people to like him and love him. And at first they say, well, you're not real, you're not like us. So it's just another way of him feeling like an outsider. But obviously by the end, the White Horse explains to him what's real, and it's a little bit closer than what the other toys say. She says, when a a boy or girl loves you, you become real. But by the end, the fairy explains it and says that's not what realness is about, you know, unconditional love. And only then does he get the treat of being made into an actual rabbit. So the whole piece we talked for hours about what's real and what's not real when writing the script, and we kind of ended up in some kind of like metaphysical realm of. So we did a lot of work on that, trying to make it.
I just want to put it out there, though. I think he's at the end, he's given a prize and he's turned into a wild rabbit. But I don't think he's any more real when he's got fur than when he's. I think he's real from the beginning. I think that there is a reality and a purity to who the rabbit is, and that's who he is. Whether he's got fur, whether he's in Velveteen, whether he's in 2D. He's always the real rabbit. So yeah, that's why we spend a lot of time talking about it. You know, I'm sorry. Yeah, Tom and I spent.
That's so thought-provoking. I will admit that even though like it's based on something that's existed for 100 years, like when it was Christmas, I was like, they got him a rabbit and he's real again because now he can play with him again. Like, I was like, I want that to happen so bad. But like, obviously that's not how it goes. And even though it was set during that time, I'm like, can't they just wash him? Like, I felt like the parents were so cruel. Like, oh, he was broken up. He had to go. Like, it was interesting how engaged I was at my big age of like, no, like they have to be friends forever. But when you guys, obviously this is a multimedia piece. Why did you decide to pursue it in that way? And how did you imagine Rabbit and William in each of those types of scenarios?
That's a good question. Like we wanted to be really ambitious with the storytelling because that's what this piece requires. Because there's lots of different levels of anthropomorphism and reality going on. So there's William talking to the rabbit, which has to be different from the rabbit talking to the other toys. And there's real rabbits in it who are obviously CG rendered. So there's lots of different levels of what would you call it? Different styles of interaction, I guess you would call it. And I think in previous iterations of this show, it's not been possible to achieve what needed to be achieved to really bring it to life. And that's what our idea was. We want to make the definitive version of this by really using our imaginations to capture what the book captures. And so I gave this, I wrote the first draft and gave it to Martin. It had, I was sure they would try and say, we can't, this is just too crazy. There's too much stuff going on. But they were, both Magic Light and Apple said, this is great. This is a great ambitious vision for the piece. And let's try and do it. And they really pulled it off. So I'm very thankful.
And I think there's a wonderful moment in the script and the film, which is elevated and which is something that Tom just absolutely brought, which is that the rabbit and the boy, William, go on adventures together and they're chatting together. And both of them can influence that bit of story. And they're both in it and they're talking. And when you see children play, that is what's going on. They're replying to their toy going, oh, is that what you think? Okay. And they've been told something. Who knew? And so we had to have that. And so, yeah, it hasn't, it's not easy making something like this, particularly, but it has been very satisfying because to pull something off, try and pull off something like that it's worth it's a good challenge.
Yeah. They're obviously on a treasure hunt and they're kind of asking each other, what do you think the treasure will be? And it is, they know it when they would see it. What, in your interpretation, is the treasure that I feel like they ultimately do find?
Yeah, the treasure really is the friendship in the end. Is that it's the time they spend together. That's the journey is the treasure. Just the fact that they go on these madcap adventures together. That's what I think the treasure is. And I think he says that he doesn't. I found the treasure already, and the treasure is what the rabbit's given him and what he's given the rabbit. So ultimately, when they do say goodbye, they have given these great gifts to each other, that they can move on with and make positive strides with.
Yeah. And we see Rabbit make the ultimate sacrifice to be with William through the night. This might be a semi-dark question, but the doctor says it's touch and go. Do you think if Rabbit wasn't there, that the night would have been as successful as it turned out to be.
That's a good question. Who knows? Yeah, maybe.
Who knows? But I think it's all about the rabbit healing that boy. I think love can do lots of things, and I think that on that night, what he needed was to have the rabbit talk to him, and that's what he gets.
Yeah, he needed that kind of optimism to pull through, and I don't think Carr would have gave that level of optimism to pull through.
I'm not sure she would. I think he's got a tougher view of the world. It's like,
yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. Happy holidays wherever you are in your definition of holidays, because I'm in the States. And I look forward to talking to you guys about future projects.
Yeah, you too. Thanks very much.
Thanks so much.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Thank you. Okay.
See ya.